Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is the final chapter of You Had Me at Hey, and this is chapter 29, and it's titled A Poetic End. After handing in your piece, you walked back down to Ida and told him that you'd made it in time, walking back to the school with him. You were told that there would be pizzas after the festival that day to thank all the students for their hard work, so after getting back to the school with Ida, you met up with Jirou and headed up to the common lounge. "I got pizza!" Mina called as she walked through the door, with about 8 stacks of pizza boxes on her arms. "I got drinks," Shoji said as he walked in behind her, a bottle of drink in each of his 6 arms. "That's an awesome use for a quirk," you complimented the giant guy as he put the bottles down on the table. "Thanks," he said with a nod to you. Everyone dug into the pizzas and the night continued, ending in Mina's favourite game of Never Have I Ever, but you and Jirou called the rules. You both learned quick from the last time that you'd played with that game with Mina. As the night drew on, you dismissed yourself to go home. "You want me to walk you?" Jirou asked. "Yeah, actually," you replied with a little smirk pulling at your lips. "I want a little bit of alone time with you." She blushed and nodded, following you out of the lounge room to a chorus of goodbyes from the rest of the class. The walk home seemed far too short, and all of a sudden you were at the music store doorstep. "Ah, damn, already?" You groaned as you stopped at the door. "It's moving closer to UA, definitely," Jirou joked dryly. "Coda's surveillance pigeons are moving it," you joked back. Jirou giggled. "Yeah, I better go," you said as you smiled at her fondly. "I'll see you tomorrow?" "Yeah," she replied. "When do you get the results back from your piece?" she asked, tilting her head cutely. "Tomorrow, actually, so if I don't get to see you, it's because I've failed and my parents have killed me." "Well, let's hope you pass then, because I want to see you," Jirou said with a light blush on her cheeks. "You're so cute, you know that?" you said as you leaned in and kissed her. "Love you," you whispered as you pulled back from the kiss. "I love you too," she replied lovingly. "Night," you said as you opened the shop and walked in. "Night," she replied as she turned and headed back to school. You walked through the darkened store and up the stairs. The lights were on in the house, so you knew your parents were up. "Hey!" you greeted them brightly as you got to the top of the stairs. Both were standing there looking at you sternly. "What's up?" you asked curiously. "We just received a call from your teacher today," your dad said. "It appears you weren't at school today." You hummed, your face going bright red from the fear of being caught red-handed in a lie. "And on top of not being at school, despite your mother and I having seen you leave for school, you handed the teacher a note that claimed that we were okay with you not being at school and we signed it?" Your face flushed harder and you avoided eye contact out of embarrassment. "And why aren't you in uniform?" your mum said. You looked down. "Oh crap, I forgot to change back." "Yin, you're grounded. Hand over your phone," your dad said, holding his hand out for you to put your phone in it. You sighed and hung your head as you handed over your phone. "Go to your room, please. You're grounded for a week." You turned and slowly walked to your room. "Oh, at least I got to go to the festival and I got my assignment handed in on time." The next day you got your results for the final piece. You passed, with flying colours. The teacher was very impressed that you'd made such a detailed piece, and she asked you what you'd named it, as you'd forgotten to write it down on the USB. You told her the name that you'd been thinking that you'd call it. "Lovely," the teacher replied. "I'll be passing you for this class after all, Yin. Well done." You smiled. "Thanks," you said gratefully. That afternoon you told your parents that you'd passed the class for the year, and they were stoked. You were still grounded though. The days dragged on until it was almost the last day of your confinement. Your dad had you working overtime in the shop because it was the weekend, and you were in charge of opening the new boxes that had arrived. You were crouched down behind the counter with your back to it, and you opened one of the boxes and looked in. "Oh yeah," you whispered with excitement. "It's the scores for this song. Oh my gosh, I love it." You pulled it out and flicked through the pages, breaking out into song as you read the lyrics. Suddenly a voice behind you stopped you. "Hey, I recognise that song," a familiar sultry voice asked. You recognised it immediately. "And I know exactly who you are," you said as you stood up and turned around. "You're wifey material, so you should marry me." Jirou smirked back at you and leaned down on the desk as she toyed with one of her earjacks and gave you a half-littered seductive look. "Hell yeah," she replied cheekily. "You had me at wifey." "And you had me at hey," you leered back before leaning over the counter and kissing her. Oh, and there ends You Had Me at Hey. I hope that warmed every inch of your little hearts, all of my bi babies, all of my lesbi babies, and all of those that just like Jirou, like what's not to like about Jirou, and just wanted to have a book with her. I hope it was a nice fluffy one. The next book isn't going to be as fluffy, so I thought that I'd just give a bit of a break between the pretty full-on Ida book and just give you something fluffy before we head on into a villain Kaminari. Yes. I am intending to put up a Kaminari book. It's not the one that's on my website. I really don't like that one. There's a few books on my website that I'm like, oh, whoever let me write this book, please. They should not have let me write it. So I'm intending to rewrite a cuter book for Kaminari because I feel like he needs justice needs to be served for Kaminari. So that might be up later this year. We'll see how we go. But yes, Villain Kaminari, the first chapter, will be coming out very soon. So stay tuned. And the completed book of this Jirou book will be out in another half hour-ish. Just give me a bit of time. And I'll see you, hopefully, in that book again soon. Thank you once again for listening in, and I hope to see you in the next book. See you then.